So let's get right into it. When you pick up P.T. Barnum's autobiography, you need to understand something right away. You're not just reading a book, you are holding his final and maybe his most brilliant humbug. This thing isn't a life story. No, it's a performance. It's a carefully staged show. And for our purposes here, we're going to treat this text as Exhibit A in a masterclass on the art of public manipulation.
Right out of the gate, Barnum kind of winks at you. He knows his story is all about him, him, him. And he frames it as, a simple necessity. How else can I tell my tale? But you gotta remember who we're dealing with. This is the master showman. For him, every single word is part of the act, and every justification is just a clever piece of misdirection.
And that, right there, is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was he actually just recounting the events of his life? Or was he doing what he always did, crafting a legend, smoothing over all the ugly parts of a career built on some truly spectacular deceptions? We're going to see that this book is his greatest performance.
So let's start with that. Let's start with this art of the eye. We're going to break down exactly how Barnum uses his own voice, his own narrative, to construct a very specific and, let's be honest, a very misleading public image of himself. This really cuts to the chase. Look at the two columns. On the one hand, he claims this whole book is a moral lesson, about integrity and industry. But if you read between the lines, you see the real game plan. He wants to rebrand a lifetime of hoaxes as just a bunch of charming, funny stories. He's controlling the myth, making absolutely sure that his version of history is the only one that sticks.
To really get this, we've got to go back to his childhood. Now, Barnum presents his early years as this scrapbook of hilarious practical jokes. But when you look closer, you realize this isn't a playground. It's a training ground. This isn't just some kid pulling pranks. This is a young man rehearsing for a lifelong career in fooling the masses. Okay, so check this story out. He tells this tale about a guy named Uncle Bibbins. He's an old Revolutionary War pensioner, and he owes Barnum's store some money. So Barnum and his buddies, they want the guy gone for a few months till his pension check arrives. So what's their solution? They set up a joke. This quote is it's perfect Barnum. See how he positions himself? He's the calm, reasonable, trustworthy one at the center of all the chaos he's creating. He's assuring his own boss, don't worry, it's all safe, it's just a show, all while he's setting this terrifying trap for his real target. And here's the punchline of the joke. The fake duel happens, the friend fakes his own death, screaming, falling, the whole shebang. And poor Uncle Bibbins is convinced he's just killed a man. And who's right there to give him some friendly advice? Young Barnum, who advises him to get out of town fast. And just like that, poof, the financial problem is gone. You tell me, does that sound like harmless fun to you? So really, what was this? Was it just a prank, or was this an early test run of the exact formula he'd use for the rest of his life? Create a massive spectacle, control the story everyone tells about it, and then, of course, profit from the lie. It's a formula that basically wrote the playbook for a whole lot of modern advertising and PR. And that brings us to his first big-time public humbug. He loved that word. This wasn't some small-town prank anymore. No, this was a national spectacle, the kind of thing that would go viral in a heartbeat today. Think of his Fiji mermaid, a grotesque thing made from a monkey's torso sewn to a fishtail, passed off as real. But before that, there was Joyce Haith. And here the story gets a lot darker. This entire spectacle was built on the cruel exploitation of an elderly, blind, and partially paralyzed enslaved woman. Just look at these claims from his advertisement. 161 years old, she was George Washington's nursemaid, a devout Baptist for over 100 years. Every single detail is perfectly engineered to spark curiosity, while also giving the whole thing this veneer of patriotic, almost moral legitimacy. It's an incredible piece of storytelling for an ad. And here is Barnum's big defense in his own book. After he lays out all these unbelievable claims, he just says, well, I honestly believed it was all true. It's his get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a convenient, completely unprovable claim of innocence that shifts all the blame away from him. I mean, can we really buy that? The guy who orchestrated the fake duel, the master of marketing and spin, just happened to stumble upon this once-in-a-lifetime story and believed every word of it without question? Or was believing it just the most profitable business decision he could make?
So let's move on because this is where his method really evolves. With the performer he called General Tum Thumb, Barnum took his craft to a whole new level. He didn't just find a curiosity to put on display anymore. This time he manufactured one from the ground up. So on the left, you've got the simple reality. A little boy named Charles Stratton, 5 years old from Bridgeport, Connecticut. But on the right, that's Barnum's creation, General Tom Thumb, a perfectly formed miniature adult, a prodigy who he presented to kings and queens. He didn't just give the kid a stage name, he invented an entirely new person, a marketable fiction that completely erased the child underneath. And what was the price for this incredible transformation? For a 5-year-old boy whose entire life became a global phenomenon? $3 a week. That number just lays it all bare, doesn't it? The cold, hard exploitation at the very center of this supposedly charming spectacle. And you don't have to take my word for it. In his own book, he admits it. He says he took the greatest pains to educate and train the boy. This wasn't some passive discovery. Barnum was the architect. He spent countless hours molding a 5-year-old into a product he could sell. So after a whole lifetime of this stuff, what did Barnum actually learn? Well, he literally wrote the book on it. It's called The Art of Money Getting, and it's not just a collection of folksy business tips. It's the final codification of his entire manipulative philosophy. Now, these rules, they sound pretty simple, right? Almost like something Ben Franklin would say. But when you filter them through the life of P.T. Barnum, they take on a much darker meaning. Advertise your business becomes create a sensation, no matter the cost. Do it with all your might becomes pursue the spectacle with absolute total commitment. It's a blueprint for getting rich where the truth doesn't matter nearly as much as perception. And that feels disturbingly familiar, doesn't it? And this really gets to the heart of his entire worldview, the humbug. See, for Barnum, a humbug wasn't just a lie. It was a deal. It was a transaction. As long as the public was entertained, as long as they walked away feeling like they got their money's worth of spectacle, the truth of it all was, well, it was irrelevant. The show was the product. He even had this quote put on the title page of his own autobiography. The noblest art is that of making others happy. It's the ultimate justification for everything, isn't it? A beautiful, heartwarming mission statement for his entire life's work. But after everything we've looked at, the manipulation, the exploitation, the open celebration of deception, we have to ask ourselves, was making people happy really his noblest art? Or was it just the most reliable, the most enduring, and by far the most profitable one? It's a question worth thinking about, because in a world of influencers, viral marketing, and carefully polished public narratives, we are all living in the circus that P.T. Barnum built.